Welcome, students. Today we'll begin the poem number 6, Amanda. And lots of you, after going through the poem, you will think as if the poem is addressed to you. Why? The reason you will know as we complete the poem. It's written by a poetess, Robin Klein. Every child, may be a boy or a girl, can easily relate to this poem because there will be lots of common things for you in the poem that you will understand. Every child, we can understand that the child feels, even you personally might be feeling that your parents, elders, brothers or sisters, mother, father keep on instructing you about certain things many times during the day, what to do, what not to do, and many of you might find it irritating. But we should always keep one thing in mind. This is just a poem, but if we talk about the real facts of life, we should keep in mind that if our elders or parents instruct us about anything, it's always for our good. That you should always keep in mind. None of the parents will wish anything that is wrong for you ever. But yet, many times we think that our parents are wrong, they keep on telling us, and we feel irritated about it. We should sit back and think that it's just for our own self. It's going to make us a better person because they have lots of experience in their life through which we can learn, and it will always be right. So this is one of the poem, but here the child doesn't give much attention to what is being told to her. Many of them thinks that their freedom is curtailed, means cut short. They want to do something, parents say no. They feel as if they are under some bondage. But it is always good for them when they are said not to do those things. It will always be good for them. That as a person you should understand. This poem is written in a very different way. There are after each paragraph there is a paragraph also which is in brackets. That is when Amanda is thinking. She is in her own world, in her own dreams. So paragraph in stanza number 1, 3, 5 and 7, the poem Amanda talks about the constant instructions being given to her, maybe by the mother or some elderly one that is not mentioned in the poem. And after that, stanza 2, 4 and 6, those are written in the bracket, tell us about the thoughts going in Amanda's mind. And the thing is that Amanda hardly listens to what is being told to her. She doesn't pay much attention. I'll just go through all the paragraphs so that you may understand the poem later on very clearly. The first stanza deals with when she's being instructed what to do and what to not to do. She is busy thinking about being a mermaid. I'll tell you what mermaid is. Alone, slowly moving into the beautiful green sea. When the elder one, when parents are instructing, she is thinking of being a mermaid. So she is dreaming about that. Next is in the third stanza, because the second stanza is what she is thinking about. So in the third stanza, Amanda again is in some other world. Now she is thinking as if she is an orphan. Orphan, we understand, those children, those who don't have mother or father, parents, walking through the street in bare feet and making patterns on the soft dust with her toe. She's thinking about all these things. There is silence all around, and she's loving her freedom. She says that freedom is priceless. This is what happens in the third paragraph. After that, in the fifth paragraph, in the fifth stanza, Again, she is eating chocolates and she's being instructed that she should not eat so many chocolates, but again she's lost in her dreams, does not even look at the person who is instructing her. She's not looking at the speaker, we can say. At that time, Amanda is imagining herself as Rapunzel, a princess. That also I'll tell you during the poem. And what she, if she was Rapunzel, what she would do and what she would not do. And in the last seventh paragraph, in the seventh stanza, again, Amanda is being instructed, and now she is tired of the continuous nagging. Nagging means the same thing being told again and again. She's tired of that nagging because of her behavior, and the person who is instructing her says that because of this instruction being constantly given to you, someone else will be thinking that you are being harassed by us by constantly we are nagging you. And actually that is the irony. In the entire poem, somebody is continuously instructing her. So this is how the poem goes. We'll begin the poem with the first paragraph and with the explanation also. First paragraph, poem Amanda. We'll begin with. Again, I would like to tell that it is by a poetess, Robin Klein. She has written the poem. So we'll begin with the poem. Don't bite your nails, Amanda. Don't hunch means bend forward. When we sit, many times we sit in an awkward position, a bent position. So don't bite your nails. That is also a bad habit, biting nails. See, whatever is being instructed is exactly right. Don't hunch your shoulders, Amanda, means don't sit in an awkward and a hunch position. Stop that slouching. Slouching also means sitting in a very lazy way, in a lazy position. And sit up straight, Amanda. Say, these are the instructions that are given to her. Not to bite the nails, not to bend forward, hunch, and sit in that position, hunch your shoulders. Then don't sit in a slouching position, in a lazy way, not in an active mode. So these are the instructions being given to her. The second paragraph, again, it is in bracket. Now she is in another world. These instructions are being given, but she is not paying any attention to those instructions, and see what she is thinking about at that time. There is a languid. Languid means very relaxed. Emerald sea. Emerald, you can understand. It's actually a precious stone, greenish color. Sea is also green. So there in a languid emerald sea, where the soul means alone, inhabitant is me, means I am alone there. A mermaid drifting blissfully. See now what she is thinking. When she is told not to bite the nails, not to sit in an awkward position, then she is thinking as if she is somewhere in a relaxed green colored emerald sea, and in that sea, and at the seashore also, she is alone sitting there. Soul means alone. When she says that I would be alone there, nobody would be there. A mermaid, you understand, it is an imaginary creature. It has the half body of a girl and the half body of a fish. So a mermaid drifting blissfully. Drifting means moving without any direction, just like fish do in the sea. They move in all directions. They don't have any particular fixed position to move. So she is also thinking about that. I would be in a green sea alone. I would be a mermaid, and I would be blissfully means complete happiness, and I would joyfully be drifting in the sea, having lots of fun there. So when the instructions were given, she was thinking that. Now we come to the paragraph number 3. Now again, the instructions are given. Did you finish your homework, Amanda? Did you tidy your room, Amanda? I thought I told you to clean your shoes, Amanda. Now again, someone is instructing her that did you finish your homework? You have to do lots of homework. Did you complete it? Did you tidy your room, which was untidy? Did you make everything okay? I thought I told you to clean your shoes. And somebody had told her, instructed us also to polish her shoes, to keep her shoes clean, maybe school shoes. So these are the things that are instructed to her. And again, she is in another world. What is she thinking again? I am an orphan. Now she says that I am an orphan, means a child who doesn't have parents, those whose parents are dead. So I am an orphan roaming the street. Now what she's thinking, that I am an orphan and I am roaming somewhere in the street, having fun there. I pattern soft dust with my hushed bare feet. Now what is she thinking? That she is an orphan, doesn't have anyone who can instruct her. She is alone. She is making patterns in the soft dust. As we walk on the seashore, patterns are made on the sand. So she is making those patterns with her bare feet. She has bare feet, means she is not wearing anything. With those bare feet, she is making patterns on the sand. The silence is golden. The freedom is sweet. What does she say? That the silence at the seashore where she is, it is totally sweet. The freedom is also very sweet. So she is loving her. She wants to love her freedom. She wants to be alone, orphan, and on the sand she wants to roam with her bare feet and enjoy the time. That is what she is thinking when she is being again instructed. We turn up now to to stanza number 5. Don't eat that chocolate, Amanda. Remember your acne, Amanda. Will you please look at me when I am speaking to you, Amanda? Now what is she doing? She's eating chocolates. So somebody is reminding her, remember your acne. Acne means a sort of pimples after by eating lots of oily food or lots of eating sweet material. We get acne. That is a kind of a pimple, a sort of a pimple only. So somebody is telling her, don't eat this stuff. You will get pimples on your face. And at that time, she is not even looking at the speaker who is instructing her. She is not even looking at the speaker. And so that's why the speaker, whoever it is saying, will you please look at me when I'm speaking to you, Amanda? And see, she's not even paying attention. So the person is telling her to even just look at me when I'm talking to you, when I'm instructing you, look at me so that I can understand that you are listening to me. But she is again somewhere else. What is she thinking now? She is thinking, I am Rapunzel. I have not a care. Now, Rapunzel was a fairy tale princess who had really very long and golden hair. There was a story about it, and she was confined, prisoned in a tower, and the witch had put her there, and the witch used the Rapunzel's long, beautiful hair to climb up and down, because there were no doors in that tower. So now she is thinking that I am Rapunzel. I have not a care. Means I don't need to care for anything. Life in a tower is tranquil. Tranquil means complete peace, silence, calmness, relaxed. So life in a tower is tranquil and rare. Very rare people get a chance. So calm, to live so calm life. I'll certainly never let down my bright hair. And what does she say? That I will not allow my hair, I will not allow anyone to interfere in my life. I will live very peacefully. If I am Rapunzel, I will live in that tower forever. I will not allow anyone to climb up and disturb my peace. So now she is thinking of being a princess when she is instructing. Now we come to the last paragraph. Stop that sulking. Sulking means silent. At once, Amanda, to be silent. Stop that sulking off. At once, Amanda. You are always so moody, Amanda. Now what is she saying? The person is saying that you are so moody, you don't seem to listen to anything. In which mood, in which world do you live, we cannot understand. You are somewhere else when we are talking to you. So you are always so moody, Amanda. Anyone would think that I nagged at you, Amanda. And the person who is the elder person who is instructing her is now even worried by saying that if I keep on continuously instructing you and you will not listen to me, if somebody will listen to this, what will the other person think? That we keep on continuously nagging you and scolding you always. So it will create a bad impression for us. But the thing is that you don't or never listen to us. So we have to instruct you so many times. But what will it create an impression on others? That the poor child is being continuously nagged and instructed continuously. So now actually that is the irony of the poem, that actually the person, the elder person, is continuously nagging, but at the end the person says that what somebody else will be thinking, that you are being nagged continuously. So sulking also we can say that here it removes a bad tempered out of annoyance and disappointment. So now she is not in a good mood. So the person is saying that you should, or you're so moody, and anyone would think that I nagged at you, Amanda. So somebody will think that I am continuously scolding you. But actually that is the real thing, that she is being continuously scolded, and that is so true. So this is just a poem, a very simple and a good poem. Many of them you will relate the poem to yourself, because you might have been under these circumstances many times. This is just a poem. Please don't get motivated by it. You should not do this. What Amanda is doing actually, you should listen to your parents. You should listen to your elders. As I told you, it is just for your own good. It's just for you. So Amanda is just an imaginary person. Don't be like Amanda. You should listen to your elders and parents. So here we come to the end of the story, the poem, because it was in a story form, a good one. We will be discussing the question answers of the poem in our next lecture, and hope you all are completing the fair book by writing the question answers, because we are discussing also. Next we will begin chapter number 5, that is the 100 race. It has two different parts. It's a bit lengthy one, so we will be doing it in our next lecture. Before that we will be discussing the question and answers of Amanda also. So don't get much inspired by Amanda, and be good to your parents, listen to them always. So this is the end of the poem. Hope you all enjoyed it. So we'll be meet again with the question answers. The question answers are very simple on page number 62, that you can very easily, don't wait for me again, I'm telling, you can begin writing. If you have any doubt, you leave that question, we'll discuss it, and after that you can continue writing it. So this is how the poem goes, a very informative and good poem for you. So until we meet again, thank you. Stay home, stay safe.